Africa's gift to its tribe. Homegrown radio. Ekaya. My home.
Xapo Bank has been involved in the crypto space for 10 years now. So we started in 2013 as a Bitcoin wallet, as a Bitcoin custodian. We were the largest custodian of Bitcoin in the world. We had 900,000 Bitcoins in our vaults.
Welcome to it. This is Blockchain Africa Conference 2023. My name is Desiree, founder of Learn Crypto Africa, and we are hosted by the Homegrown Radio guys here at the Bitcoin Events Conference, which is the Blockchain Africa Conference 2023. They touted as Ready for Business, which is the latest blockchain and cryptocurrency industry insight. Good day, and how are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much for having me. Seamus Rocca, CEO of Xapo Bank, from Gibraltar.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
And I'm Desiree Zindong from KwaZulu-Natal in a place called Xapo. Well, you know, the fun thing is that when we were introduced to each other, I just came across a place that I've never known existed, and I was just saying to someone that I'm somebody who supposedly knows my geography very well. So yeah, I've learned and I've been taught today. How are you doing, and what are you guys up to?
So Xapo Bank has been involved in the crypto space for 10 years now. So we started in 2013 as a Bitcoin wallet, as a Bitcoin custodian. We were the largest custodian of Bitcoin in the world. We had 900,000 Bitcoins in our vaults. And we started our journey of going into the banking space in 2016 because we knew that for us to be a trusted institution, everybody knows what a bank is, everybody knows that they hold capital, that they protect your money. So we needed to create a bridge between Bitcoin and its core use case and something that people already know and trust and understand, which is being a bank. So we've spent the last 3 years building a bank, connecting to SWIFT, creating all of our systems, processes, getting Visa and MasterCards ready, having accounts that pay our customers 4% and being able to deploy their money safely so we can earn all of that. So we are very different to the traditional companies in the crypto space, which are normally exchanges and people who are doing sort of technology innovation, whereas we pretty much just stuck to this core idea of having a Bitcoin offering that is bridged by a normal real bank with a banking license that everybody would understand. So we've been working away on that for the last 3 years, and we're here to tell everybody about it because I think it's quite innovative.
Wow, that is amazing. Could you just slightly reduce my headphone noise?
Yeah, mine too as well, if you don't mind. It's very hissy. There you go.
Much better, much better.
Thanks.
Man, I'm just listening to you. Who is the visionary in this company that started a crypto thought process back in 2013?
Certainly not me. The visionary of the company is Wences Casares. He's our chairman and founder. He is Argentinian by birth, serial entrepreneur, but being Argentinian, he had seen a lot of financial struggles in his home country through hyperinflation, devaluation, confiscation of deposits by the government. So when he discovered Bitcoin, it was his immediate passion. You know, how can Bitcoin help people protect their wealth? And he immediately knew that this idea of it being regulated was very much necessary. In the early days of Bitcoin, many people thought, well, no, this is completely libertarian, we don't need regulation. I think Wences' thinking was very different. And he wanted to go the completely opposite way, which is to actively seek regulation, to actively be perceived as a trusted bank, as a trusted institution that would do with your Bitcoin what banks already do with your money. Right. So it's completely his vision. I joined in 2017 as the CFO, and I was made CEO 2 years ago. And I think Wences and I complement each other quite well. I'm a banker by trade, by experience, and I'm much more of a sort of execution-focused person, So I think we make quite a good team. You know, he's the chairman, so he's still very much involved with Xapo. He's a majority shareholder, but you know, he very much paints the vision, and I deliver it. So as I always say to Wences, I said, you know, you tell me what mountain you want us to go to, I'll figure out how to get there. But he's the guy who normally comes up with the visionary ideas.
Wow, we need those people. We need the doers, those that are able to convert strategy to action. Tell me, how has Xapo Private Bank been received within your environment?
Well, I think so far so good. It's fairly early days. We did a launch recently of adding Bitcoin Lightning payments to our features, and that went down very well. Today we're actually releasing USDC stablecoin payments out of the bank account. Right. So again, that's a first, because normally people do stablecoin payments in and out of exchanges, whereas we actually convert the stablecoin for you into a bank account that is deposit guaranteed and pays you interest. So again, that's fairly new. We added pound payments in and out of the bank account a few days ago. We've got a metal card launch coming up soon. We've got a wealth product campaign coming out soon. So we've been basically in building mode for the last few years, and now all of these product features are coming out. So, you know, that's one of the reasons why we're here, because we want people to hear and understand about the product offering and what has Xapo been up to for the last 2 years.
What would your value? What would the value be? You being in South Africa, Johannesburg, how would are you looking for collaborations? What kind of value are you seeking out here?
Yeah, I think it's quite a broad sort of remit of things that we're looking for. One is we have customers here in South Africa, people who, in fact, I've just met 2 or 3 that were Xapo customers from back in 2014. And it's amazing to meet them face to face, and they tell you stories about the early days and the product and the fact that they've been so loyal to us. Even though we were quite early into the market, so it was very difficult to provide good service in the early days, particularly on the payment side. So to have such loyal customers, seeing them face to face has been really rewarding, and hearing some of their stories and getting them excited about some of the new product features that we've been working on. Also because I think blockchain is, from an innovation perspective, for a continent like Africa, when you think about M-Pesa in Kenya, for example, I mean, I went there personally just to be able to use it, and I couldn't believe it.
And it was amazing, right?
It's unbelievable. You know, that you have somebody, you know, who's just selling trinkets on the side of the street, and when you want to make a payment, he's more than happy to do it with the phone. I mean, that wouldn't happen in Europe, you know. So I think that blockchain can catapult Africa and bypass, you know, all these old archaic payment systems that are 60 years old in you know, the US and Europe. Africa, in the same way as Xapo is a blockchain native bank, all of our systems have been based to be able to handle Bitcoin. So we're very much a bank, but in the blockchain crypto sort of native way. I honestly think that Africa has an opportunity to be blockchain native in a similar way in terms of financial services.
If we open our minds, it's a mindset thing.
It is completely. You've got to be open to innovation. You know, who would have said to I don't know, who's the biggest telco in South Africa? I should know, but I don't.
Telkom.
Telecom. So who would have said to Telecom 10 years ago that there's this little app called WhatsApp that was going to overtake SMS, and nobody would ever use SMS again? People wouldn't have believed it, right? So I think if you know, sometimes innovation doesn't come from the traditional companies. It's not going to come from the JP Morgans of the world. Innovation is going to come from places like this, people who are in this conference who are passionate about blockchain and crypto and the things that it can achieve. But it also needs people who want to elevate it to that next level, to take it mainstream. And
people who are hungry for the next big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, when you're dealing with people's money, trust is an important factor, but that's one of the benefits of blockchain. But I think to make it mainstream, it does have to live in tandem with traditional financial services. And I think, you know, we've been working at this for 10 years, Desiree, so you can't just wake up tomorrow and go, right, I'm going to build a Bitcoin bank. But you do have to be open-minded to the fact that there is an enormous opportunity there. And I love coming to places like this because you meet people who are like-minded in terms of that desire to innovate and do new things.
Right. And an important thing is the safety. How do we allay that FUD anxiety that is still very there, and it's very prevalent, mainly because of all the mishaps that from last year, FTX, and all of these problems that we're facing with bad players.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, look, there's bad players in every industry, right? And of course, the whole FTX debacle was a sad state of affairs. But likewise, Lehman's and Bear Stearns collapsed in 2007, 2018, and they were two very big, well-respected banks. But nobody decided to shut down banking forever as a result of it. You regulate it, you come up with new policies, you come up with new ways of learning from the mistakes so they don't happen again.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit the same in crypto. We've been actively seeking for regulation since 2014, but people weren't willing to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that there are serious enough players in the industry that can help take crypto to the next level. I think it requires an open mind.
What will be very important is who actually is regulating and what are their intentions.
Yeah.
It's a big buzz thing at the moment as to who's actually regulating and what purposes, for what purposes are they regulating, which is a very critical thing that the pro-digital assets people are going to have to interrogate and work with and work through to actually truly realize the good value and potential of digital assets.
Yeah.
What would you say is the future of digital assets and the future of these services that you're providing within your own ecosystem?
Yeah, I think there's a few that come to mind for me. Number one is, if you think about the core use case of Bitcoin, the fact that it's sovereign, the fact that you can't print more Bitcoin, it's finite, and the security aspects of it. Those three things, for me, are the three sort of pillars of Bitcoin. So no government can control it because they can't change the protocol. Of course, they can regulate the touch points, but you can't decide to go in and change how Bitcoin works. You can't decide to print more, which is what governments have a tendency to do. And creates inflation. So you have certainty, and the hash rate of the database has now gone to the point where it's so powerful it's incredibly secure. So from that perspective, you already have Bitcoin out there as something that has an incredible use case. Why? Because it's 24/7, it's cross-border. It could be faster, but there's enough investment in the protocol, things like Lightning and improvements. It's certainly the way that innovation is headed and the way that it should go. At the end of the day, we live in a globalized world. We all like to travel with having social media access. We live in a very globalized world, but yet when you look at payments, it's still very much stuck in anything that is cross-border takes 3 or 4 days, it's expensive, difficult to do, and as we are all growing, children of the internet, where you got with one click everything you're used to doing it on your phone, why shouldn't banking and payments be any different?
Right.
Why shouldn't you have the choice of what you want to do with your money?
Absolutely.
So there needs to be, of course, financial stability within reason. Governments want to control the stability of their own currencies and everything else. But at the same time, I think people want, and rightly so, demand more of their own personal choice as to what to do with their money. And I think that's certainly one of the use cases of Xapo, and the reason why we exist is giving you that option, giving you that choice as to what to do with your money.
Let's talk volatility. What would you say? How do we navigate around the issues of volatility, especially where Bitcoin goes up or down, follows the bearish and bullish nature? What do we do about that, and how do we work around it?
Well, there's a couple of things. Let me tell you how our product handles it, but also the mindset that I think you need to navigate it. So we have a dollar bank account and then a Bitcoin account. You earn interest on both. So if you're worried about the Bitcoin volatility, with one click, you can sell down from your Bitcoin into a dollar account. Dollars being the strongest currency in the world, earning 4%. You're not going to get hyperinflation on the dollar anytime soon. There has been, of course, inflation, but the economy is so strong that it is very much a desirable currency. So if you're worried about volatility, you can go back to a deposit guaranteed bank account as opposed to having a stable coin on exchange.
Right.
So it's the first bank that really bridges a real bank account with this idea of having a Bitcoin wallet. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is your mindset to how you invest in Bitcoin. We believe at Xapo that Bitcoin one day will be worth $1 million per Bitcoin. Right? It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it will happen over time based on basic economics of demand and supply. There's only 21 million that will ever be minted, and then from that perspective, as use cases increase and demand increases, the price will go up.
I hope that happens in our lifetime.
I hope that happens too, But then from that perspective, it's something that you think is going to go up over time, but requires innovation, regulation, all those developments. It takes time. Right. So if you're buying the Bitcoin hoping that it's going to go to $1 million tomorrow, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be trading it, and trading crypto is a sure way, in my view, of losing money.
Absolutely.
So when you sort of put any money into Bitcoin, you need to do it responsibly, but you need to do it for the long term. So we took a view when we started in 2013 that if we were going to have Bitcoin as a key offering, we needed to buy Bitcoin and hold that as capital.
Right? Which is exactly what you did. You did 900.
We bought $20 million worth of Bitcoin at $100 a Bitcoin. So we've got 30,000 Bitcoin on our balance sheet as capital to protect your deposits. So if you have Bitcoin with me at Xapo, we have plenty of Bitcoin to make sure that you never suffer any losses.
I'm trying to figure out
how much,
what the value of that was when we were sitting at 60,000.
$2 billion.
My goodness.
That's one of our biggest strengths.
What a visionary.
The strength of our balance sheet is one of our biggest assets for our customers because think of a bank that has that much capital.
Can I bank with you guys?
Of course you can.
Because one of the fears that I have in thinking about where I invest, I'm one of those long-term investors, by the way. Where do I place my coins? Where do I place my Bitcoins? Is the fact that traditionally banks have often taken money and then they fall apart and you're sitting with all these losses. How do you guarantee that a bank will have... Are banks going to start getting into this transparency place where people who are invested in them knows what is being done with their money, where it's been stored, how it's been stored, and do they have any part to play in that storage of their money?
Well, I can tell you exactly what we do with your dollar deposits. Most banks use your dollar deposits to lend. Yeah. So your money is actually tied up in mortgages, in other people's mortgages. So if you think about it, you'll maybe pay, 10% on the mortgage, but you're only going to get 2% on your deposits. The difference is how a normal bank makes money. But then, if all the money is tied up in long-term assets, if all the money is tied up in long-term assets and mortgages, banks need to keep a certain amount of liquidity to one side to be able to cover, a large number of customers coming to the door saying they need their money. We don't lend. So as a result, we have all of your deposits in short-dated assets, all AAA rated. So things like US Treasuries, money market funds, commercial paper, all up to 3 months. So all the cash is readily available.
How do you make your money?
Well, because interest rates have gone up, we're now earning 4.5%. We pay 4% to the customers. We keep a small difference rather than a big difference, and we are a subscription service. Mm-hmm. So you have to pay to be a member of Xapo Bank. It's not free, but that membership fee pays for our overheads because it costs money to give you a debit card and rails and all the people that do the service. And we thought, well, it's almost like imagine going to an amazing nightclub. You're going to pay to get in, but when you're in, the drinks are free. It's a little bit like that. So wouldn't that be the best nightclub in the world? So what we do is we charge a subscription fee, but then once you're in, we don't charge you huge FX spreads. We charge you the broker rates. Whatever benefits we get on the money that we make on interest, we try and pay as much as we can away to the customer. So we try to make money in an honest way. In a transparent way, because I think most people like yourself would understand that we need to make money. We're not a charity, but at the same time, most banks very aggressively, find ways of pulling money out of you,
amounting to massive wealth.
Exactly.
They create a whole lot of wealth with our money. With that said, what do you think then is the future of traditional banks?
I think banking has to go digital. I mean, I go back to the M-Pesa example, right? It's like simple payments done digitally. And yes, with fintech in the last 10 years, there's been a lot of improvements on UX, on your phone. It's much easier to make a payment and use the UX. But I don't think that's enough.
But it's going to change for them if they're no longer holding onto your money and doing with it what they please, without your permission, by the way. How else are they going to make their money in the way that they have been making money?
Yeah.
It's sort of saying you've been making 70% profit, but now go down to taking 10% profit.
Yeah.
Will they survive? Will they stick around?
I think, it's challenging from a bank's perspective because of how they work and make money. If they're too transparent, then people might worry, go, oh, all my money's in mortgages, I want my money out. And then it almost creates a crisis in and of itself. But then, there's a fine balance between how transparent banks can and can't be. But I think the reality is, with all of the banking crises that we had in 2008 and that we're seeing today, and also with what happened with FTX, I think people demand some degree of understanding of what is going on with my money. And that degree of visibility, that's one of the biggest benefits of blockchain, right? And the fact that it's cross-border and it's instant and it's digital and you can do it 24/7. So I think there's still a long way to go to get there. But I think if the big banks don't wake up to the fact that if they're not in this space, they're going to miss a beat because the future is digital. Then I think in the same way as, for example, Amazon turned up and completely transformed the way that people shop, right? If banks don't wake up to the fact that you need to be digital, there will be a new digital bank that will come along and will completely transform the way that people do banking. I'm not suggesting for a second that that's going to be Xapo Bank, but if nothing else, we will have set a footprint in terms of this idea of being blockchain native.
Yeah. Without being apologetic about it, if the bride will not step up for her own wedding, as the guest, you're not going to dress down for the bride. So that is what the case is with banks, the traditional banks, and the tech giants banks that are coming up. And what would you say has been your challenge, apart from, I'm sure, adoption, which is everybody's challenge? Well, how's the adoption process been, and what have your challenges been?
I think, adoption was challenging because there was an area of crypto that was very much anti-regulation, anti-KYC, we can't, that's not crypto, at one extreme. And then the other extreme, you've got the banks looking at, well, we kind of like Ripple or something that we can control, although we can put a name to it. But if somebody else has innovated it, no, we don't like it. So there's those two extreme views. I think the middle space is much more interesting. You can't go completely anti-regulation, but at the same time, to innovate, you've got to think different, and you've got to do things in a different way. So I think the adoption has been there, but traditional financial services have been very scared to engage with crypto, and I think they've struggled somewhat to differentiate between some of the not so good actors and some of the more serious players out there, hopefully like ourselves, who've taken the time, investment, and energy to be regulated to build a bank. So not all crypto companies are created equal, and I think financial service industries have struggled to navigate that.
Absolutely. This is an intriguing conversation. Still very early days for the mass markets out there, even business to business. I always say that if a CEO of a company does not have a vision in terms of digital assets, it's going to take a very long time, even if they're the desired investor that we're vying for. If they don't have the vision and they don't see it, or they don't understand it, it's going to be a long, very curvy road for us. So the quicker that we understand these assets, the quicker that we understand the solutions, especially as the continent of Africa, the better it will be for us in realizing alternative solutions to our financial crisis. South Africa is gone into a grey listing at the moment. Imagine if we were at a place where we were fully understanding the digital world, we would be able to sort of somewhat mitigate some of these issues that we face. If we had adopted blockchain in terms of voting, then we had people with moral intents to go into the blockchain system for free and fair elections, would be in different situations. So there's a whole lot of if situations that we could be in if we adopted the emerging technology. What would you say is your idea of a solution for Africa within the blockchain space?
I think the very premise of blockchain is trust. You know, most interactions require that you trust the other. For example, in finance, that I have a ledger of what I owe you, you have a ledger of what you owe me, and then we got to reconcile it, that we trust one another. You mentioned elections, you know, you go to the booth, you put in your ballot, but you got to trust that it's been counted and
delivered
properly.
Securely.
Exactly. So this idea of having a blockchain that removes all of that need for trust, because it's hard-coded into the technology, is huge. Then it really becomes about the entry points into that blockchain. And I think that's where the space is at now. So, well, how do you regulate those entry points? The innovation is fast, so therefore, you know, if you innovate too much, you might stifle innovation. But if you don't regulate at all, you end up with, you know, spectacular debacles like FTX. So it's about finding that sort of middle ground. But for me, like I said before, I think blockchain is a huge opportunity for Africa. I really believe that in my bones.
I know. I've experienced that it's a huge opportunity for us. You're close to Spain, right?
Yes, I see Spain. I see Morocco from my bedroom window every day, so I see Africa from my house every day.
Goodness. Real Madrid or Barcelona?
I'm a Liverpool fan, believe it or not.
There's a Liverpool fan.
I'm a Liverpool fan, but if I had to choose, I would choose Barcelona.
Was there not two Liverpool fans in a row? Oh, oh my goodness.
I grew up in the 70s, so, you know, late 70s, early 80s, Liverpool were winning anything, so you know, they were the team to choose.
Yes, they were winning everything, and they recently thrashed Man United to a pulp.
Yeah. What was the score again? Any Man United fans in the room?
Well, I don't think they are Man United fans, or if they are, none of them are going to come up forward right now. But what an amazing bank. It's something that I feel like I want to be part of, mainly because I see the vision and the fact that you've invested so much. That is the big. It almost sounds similar to the micro-strategy investments. Michael Saylor.
Similar, yeah.
And people that have put their whole head into it. When a CEO, when a founder puts in so much of themselves into a product, it's almost believer sure to succeed, because you know that there's so much that's gone in. I don't know where you got so much Bitcoin from at that time in 2013, and how much vision, how you're going to be such a truster of a system. You have to trust so much to have bought that much Bitcoin in 2013, or known something that we don't.
No, well, look, and again, that wasn't my decision. I can't take credit for that. That was Wesley's.
He's not Satoshi, right?
That was Wesley. No, he's not. Maybe he is. but for anybody who's been in the crypto space for a while, you know, Wesley Casanas is a bit of a legend, and he's a bit of a legend.
He is a legend. Yeah. He is a legend. I'm going to follow him on Twitter, and I will stalk him.
He's not very active. He's not very active.
That's okay. I still stalk Elon Musk and Michael Saylor, and they don't respond to me at all. But thank you so much. What a beautiful time. What an insightful thing to know that right at the top of Africa we have a bank like Xapo Bank that believes in the future of digital assets. It's a big thing, and I hope that you guys are just going to be blowing up and be huge and create amazing collaborations in the rest of the continent. And we wish you a whole lot of the best going forward.
It's been lovely talking to you.
Thank you.
Africa's gift to its tribe. Homegrown radio. Ekhaya, my home.